And hello together. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. While we are waiting for the others to join, can you write in the chat from where are you joining? I'm always interested from which region of the world you are joining. What time is it for you? Munich, Germany. Same time as me. Paris. Bonsoir. Hallo Achim, willkommen.
Hallo.
Abend.
Hello.
Poland, Scottsburg, or it's America. Oh, it's in the morning. Okay. Romania, good evening. Yes, good evening. For those who just joined, can you put in the chat from where you are joining and what time it is for you? Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello. Hello, Matthias.
Hi. Hello, Ronny.
Hello, Laurent. Rating. Where is that?
Sorry, Ratingen this time.
Okay. Pronounced it international rating. Okay.
Yeah, I cannot edit it.
Good Abend. Hello. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes. How confident are you with tailoring of ASPICE on a scale from 1 to 5, let's say? 1 is what is tailoring about, and 5, okay, you can choose the processes, the base practices confidently, and you can justify, of course.
Shall we enter it in the chat?
Yes, in the chat, please. 1 or 2 or 5, whatever. Evgenia 4. Very good. Matthias, yeah, yes, of course, you're an expert. Jamie 4. Okay. Wow.
Hello together.
Hallo Jürgen.
Aaron, grüß dich.
3.5 to 4. Okay, that's very specific. Juana, thank you.
It depends on the team I work with, so that's why it's between.
Yes, on the context, as always, yes. Of course, there are contexts where we are more confident with and new experiences. 2 to 3, okay. So we can improve on this, hopefully, tonight. Aljona, between 2 and 3, okay. That's interesting. You have some experts on 4 and some people learning. That's a nice mixture. Let's wait another minute. So again, the question to the ones have joined lately. Where are you joining from? What is the time for you? And how confident are you with tailoring on a scale from 1 to 5?
Tailoring what?
Tailoring processes to a specific context. Processes, base practices, and as we will see, it can tailor on document level as well. Okay, Polar expert on 4, okay, level 4, so to say. We are always like levels as ASPICE experts. From Strasbourg in France. Bonsoir. Okay, then I think most of the people joined. Let's start. Welcome everyone to the webinar on the book launch ASPICE Light. Unfortunately, we had to postpone several times. First, I was sick, then the co-author Sohil was sick, and he sends his apologies. He cannot join tonight either because he came back from the sick leave and straight into an escalation, so he needs to join some meetings. And we were thinking about postponing again, but we decided, okay, let's go ahead. There will be another opportunity where he can, where you can get to meet the co-author Sohil Dahr. Let's start with some webinar rules. As you have noticed, maybe the microphones are open, so you can unmute yourself and talk anytime. And actually, you can do so. We are not too many people. If you have a question, raise your hand. I hope I can see it on the screen. Just make a little bit of noise. Make yourself noticed. Ask a question. I'm happy to answer any questions in between. The session should be recorded. I think it's running. So be advised that it will be recorded if you unmute yourself. And then during the Q&A session at the end, of course, you can unmute yourself or you can ask the question in the chat as well. I hope I will see it and answer all the questions you might have. So let's get started with the agenda. What are we talking about today? First of all, why Sohil and I wrote this book? What is the motivation behind? What is our tailoring approach? There might be other tailoring approaches. Then we have brought some examples where we decided, okay, we drop one process, we drop best practices, and then we have a look at the table of content of the book. And in the appendix, we provided some extra content. We provide turtle diagrams for all the processes which are in the scope of our book for small projects, and we provide also templates for major planning documents like the project plan or project handbook, quality assurance plan, and I think the configuration management plan as well. And then I might announce the next webinar, which is actually tomorrow already. Okay, let's get to know the speakers. Even though Sohil is not here, as I said, he sends his apologies because he cannot join. Sohil Dahr is one of the authors and contributed mainly to this book or case study, and he brings over 8 years of diversified experience in project management, quality assurance for software-based systems within leading German OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers. If you have a look at his LinkedIn profile, he's a project manager at Volkswagen Infotainment. His career spans projects across Asia-Pacific, EMEA, and NAFTA regions, giving him a truly global perspective on automotive innovation. He is an Intact-certified Automotive SPICE provisional assessor and holds multiple advanced certifications, including Automotive SPICE 4.0 upgrade, the upgrade for VDA Automotive SPICE guidelines, Cybersecurity SPICE, and Agile SPICE. In addition, he is a TÜV Nord automotive cybersecurity engineer according to ISO SAE 21434 and has completed a specialized program in automotive cybersecurity and intercultural competence for Germany and the USA. I think he is some kind of white hacker, if I've understood it correctly. He is an active member of the INTAX working group for functional safety. The goal of this working group is to harmonize functional safety ISO 26262 with Automotive SPICE. There are some conflicts between these two standards, even though they have the same goal to provide a high quality product in the sense of a safe product. And Sohil is an active member of this working group, and he is contributing to shaping new industry standards. His expertise spans project management, test management, and release management, configuration management, process modeling and architecture, and the development and implementation of quality frameworks such as Automotive SPICE, Hardware SPICE, and Mechanical SPICE. So he is a true generalist and therefore an expert in his field. He is passionate about driving process improvements, conducting audits and assessments, and ensuring product quality in complex automotive environments. When he's not immersed in audits or process improvements, Sohil joins exploring innovations that make vehicles smarter and safer. He holds a postgraduate diploma in embedded system design and a bachelor's degree in electronics and telecommunication, laying the foundation for his career in the automotive industry. And some of you may already know me. My name is Ronald Melster. In the automotive industry, I'm just known as Ron. As a principal, I help organizations, projects, and people to achieve their goals. I always try to balance structure and standardization with pragmatism and efficiency, which actually led to this case study as well. I studied computer science in Berlin and Edinburgh, and so I'm a software guy, so to say, but I soon discovered my passion for software engineering and processes. I even wrote my diploma thesis about software development processes in the 90s. I entered the automotive industry around the year 2000, and I've been a competent assessor since 2005, which makes me one of the longest serving ASPICE assessors, at least in Europe, maybe even in the world. For me, assessments are not just about the rating, but assessments are about empowering teams and explaining the why behind processes. I've collaborated with Bosch, Carmack, Nippon Seiki, Audi, Porsche, and influencing literally hundreds of professionals. One of my biggest achievements was leading a development division at Bosch with around 7,000 engineers worldwide to a capability level 3. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not just an assessor, I'm a mentor, I'm trying to be a coach, sparring partner, and I want to help people to understand ASPICE and embrace it. Speaking of ASPICE, oh, there's an animation. Okay, no, it's not working. Let's start why we wrote this case study for small teams. I'm coming back to what we define as small teams in a moment. What gap is this book trying to close? As you might have experienced, ASPICE is not easy. People trying to implement ASPICE can get overwhelmed very easily by many aspects. What are these levels about? Why do we need to do project management again on level 2? What is the difference between the project management on level 1 and level 2? The terminology, which we see on the screen right now, is very confusing. And people need to understand how the processes work together eventually. To me, coaching is always in two phases. First, the people understand their own process. Okay, I'm configuration manager. What do I need to do? Identify configuration items, define baselines, etc. Do configuration management audits, and then people start to understand. Okay, there are other processes which they contribute to, and they need to work together. Requirements are tested in the verification processes, and verification tester can give feedback to good requirements, etc. So that's the second phase of coaching. But at the beginning, people get overwhelmed and they do not know where to start with this ASPICE. And the sheer number of documents is overwhelming as well at the beginning. And I've seen this many, many times that people struggling to understand and they don't know where to start. Actually, the last time was last week when I consulted a startup company. They're preparing to shift from the prototyping phase. They have a very good product and they need to start serious development, so they need to understand ASPICE from the start. They have many good approaches, but they need to understand what is the why behind the processes and how they need to work together. And as I said, beginners don't know where to start, what is important, and what can be skipped. And this is what we are answering in this book. Let's have a look at how we tailor these processes. Now, first we have a look at what we mean by small projects, and we have discussed this very lengthy, and we have come up with a set of dimension or aspects where you can decide, okay, are we a small project, are we medium-sized, or a bigger project? The first dimension is the scope of the product. To give you an example, an ECU which has mechanical interfaces, which has an hardware, and you have software development, is not a small project. So we have agreed that one software component can be considered a small project. And the same is true for the time of development. For small projects, we are talking about weeks or months. And for bigger projects, we're talking about months or even years of development. The same is true for the number of technical interfaces, project interfaces. If you have development locations around the world, it's maybe not a small project. And the proportion of reuse. If you're reusing a lot of software, then it's a smaller project. If you have to develop all of the parts, maybe even the operating system from scratch, then it's not a small project in our sense. So we have defined some guidelines where you can decide, okay, are we a small project, and can go ahead with the tailoring approach, which we propose in the book. And it's a three-step process, so to say. The first tailoring takes place on process level, which is a kind of given with ASPICE. Every project, every organization needs to tailor on process level and to decide, okay, do we need this process? Yes or no? And to give a justification. What we are doing in the book, in the case study, is we provide a given set. Under the assumption of a small project, we are giving you a set of processes, including the justification why we believe, from our experience, that you can drop one process and why you need to include another process. Next step is on base practice level. We are confident that you can skip some of the base practices. There are not too many, but we give you some examples. We give you a justification why it's not needed for a small project. And the third step in the tailoring is on document level. I will talk about this in a second. So let's give an example how we selected the relevant processes and which processes we dropped, including the justification. This might be surprising to you. We included SYS1, requirements elicitation. Actually, to me personally, this is one of the most important processes, if not the most important process. If you don't know what your stakeholders expect from you, how can you deliver it? And I chose stakeholder very consciously. It's not just a customer providing you with a requirement specification, also known as Lastenheft, but you might have internal stakeholders. For example, this company, the startup, shifting from the prototyping phase to the serious development, they already have a platform approach. So they try to reuse as much of the technology, and so they have a reuse expectation. And this is not coming from the customer. The customer, they don't care if the company is reusing or taking any technology, software from the platform, or if they are developing it for the customer specifically. So the customer as a stakeholder is the most important one, I agree, but you might have internal expectations by other stakeholders. That's why we included SYS1. And to give you another example, we excluded sub 10 change request management, because if you have a small project running over a few weeks and you have incoming changes, then you add to the complexity. So a small project with accepting changes is not a small project anymore. So if you need to add sub 10, you have to consider the full ASPICE scope. Another example is on the next level is on base practice. As I mentioned earlier, not every single base practice makes sense for a small project. So to give you an example, again, we merged BP6 and BP7 in quality assurance. BP6 is talking about non-conformances that they need to be handled, deviations, review findings, etc. Of course, you need to do this. And BP7 is talking about escalations. It's a similar justification like for sub 10 change request management. If you need to escalate for a small project running for just a few weeks, you're already dead. So it doesn't make sense. It's not feasible. That's why we dropped the BP7. You don't need to define an escalation mechanism, because if you have an escalation, your scope of the project is not a small project anymore. And that's my favorite one. We tailored out BP2 of SPL2 product release, which says you need to define the packaging, release packaging, which is again true for a physical product where you have a machine and you need to, or a part of the car which you need to package carefully so it doesn't get damaged during delivery. This doesn't make sense for a software-only project where you have one component which you deliver to the customer by sending an email or something like that. So that's why we can skip this best practice, just to give you a feeling what we have done. And the third level is on document level. We provide a full template for the documents. However, the assumption is that you pick the chapters which make sense for you. If you don't have assumptions and constraints for your project, then leave the chapter out or leave it empty. And for example, if you have only a few interfaces, then this can be skipped as well. And of course, the document shall be lightweight. This can be a text file, this can be a markdown file somewhere on the server, or a wiki or a Confluence page. It's about the content, it's not about the format. So that's the third level of tailoring we provide. And let's have a look. There's a question from Alec. If you deliver software by email, okay. Yes, okay. You are right. On the meta level, packaging or delivering the content by email is packaging as well. But let's retry my justification. If you do it once, you don't need to spend much time to define, okay, we deliver it by email and that's, or we deliver it to a server. If you do it once, just do it. And so the definition of the release packaging is not as important as for a bigger project where you do it hundreds of times during the project. Just to give you an idea of the intention. Okay, let's have a look at the table of content of the case study. Of course, this follows this presentation I'm doing now. So we have a problem statement why we wrote this book in the first place, then the tailoring approach, then we have the complexity criteria, the guideline for what we consider a small project, and we provide roles and responsibilities. In small projects, there might be a high chance that one person has to cover several roles. The project manager can be the configuration manager at the same time. The software development lead might be the architect as well, even though we are proposing that software architecture design can be skipped. If you develop one software component only, you go straight to the detailed design. But the software development lead must be confident for the requirements and the respective tools, as well defining the structure and the dynamic behavior within the component, which is very common. And there's one exception where one role must be independent of all other roles, which is, of course, quality assurance. And we propose a way how to solve this as well. And then we give some implementation guidelines. So we go through all the processes, we define a very lightweight workflow, how you can tackle project management, requirements management, etc. And in the appendix, as I mentioned earlier, we provide templates and turtle diagrams for all the processes we cover in the book. There's the structure within one of the processes, quality assurance. So we define what is this person or this role responsible for? What skills does this person need? Then we provide an overview to the template. The full template is in the appendix. And as I mentioned, a very simple or lightweight workflow for this process. Okay, this brings us to the end of the presentation. The slide is not updated. The pre-sales ended on 7th of January. We wanted to launch the book, I think, 3 weeks ago. And for those of you who bought the case study already, thank you very much for your support. You get the books delivered on the 18th. So here is your chance. If you want to get the case study, you can get it for the pre-sales price, which is 15 euro. So you can save 5 euro with the code LIGHT25. And there's the URL, and you can scan the QR code as well, which will bring you to the landing page of the case study, get an overview again to the table of content if you need more information, and there's the button which brings you to Stripe, and then you can purchase the book and see if it's helpful to your context. Okay, there is another question from Alec. Have you defined project criteria for a hardware small project as well, or is this book only focused on software? We have agreed actually that small projects are for software only projects. So if you want to define a tailoring approach for a hardware project which you consider small, you might need to adapt this approach. Does this answer your question? Are there any further questions?
Hi, Matthias here.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Jürgen, please go ahead.
Mark, you're first.
Hi, Ron. In your book, are there practical examples on how to break down that for the different levels, or is it more, so not levels, but company sizes or organizational sizes or team sizes with practical examples, or does the book only contains the theory, what you should do at which point?
Yes and no. Yes, it does include practical examples. We provided turtle diagrams with typical tools for requirements management, Polarion, Codebeamer, Doors, of course, or maybe even Excel. So we provide practical guidance. However, we limit it on small projects only, and as we just discussed, software-only projects. And so it's one tailoring which we provide. It might be specific. That's why I gave the information. Okay, that's the context. This is what we're talking about. If you find this useful and it's applicable to your context, it might be useful. Or if you want to see, okay, how did we justify the tailoring, and you might want to adapt this to your context. I take the question from Patrick first. Have you defined a maximum size of software binary? Oh no. Actually, I don't know if you have defined a number of lines, what we consider a small software project. I might need to look up. What we have done, we defined a number of interfaces of the technical interfaces as well as project interfaces. If you have departments. You have mechanical department, hardware department, software, system level. This is not a small project. So I don't think you have to have defined a specific number of lines where we say it's a small software component. What we have done, we have said, okay, one component, AutoSAR component, to give you some kind of guideline. And Matthias.
Thank you. I listened very carefully because I'm working for a safety relevant project.
Okay.
And I would like to ask the question, does this approach also work for small safety relevant projects, or is it basically disallowed because of chapter 2 of the ISO 26262, having a fully established QM process, or what's your take on that?
Again, safety relevance is a contraindicator of small projects. Still, to give you another view on the book, what we have done, we have written down the first step of coaching. Okay, there's a project starting with ASPICE. Okay, let's start with this one and add more documents, more processes later on. So you could do the same for teams starting with ASPICE. You can take this case study as a guidance. Okay, where to start, how to start, even though it's a safety relevant project. In the end, of course, they need to have full coverage of the requirements. They need to have a safety case. So no, they need to have full ASPICE.
And my second question is, have you, when you wrote this book, have you thought of combining few processes, for example, supplier 2 and configuration management, in combination of MN3 project management?
Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think there are different approaches on tailoring. What you're mentioning is actually the potential analysis.
Okay.
They have combined project management, I think, with release management. They have combined the process. We have not done this. We have kept the processes separately.
Okay.
What we have done, okay, the people need to combine the skills. So it's a little bit different approach, but for the people, it doesn't make any difference.
And the last question, thank you. The last question I'm having is, when looking in the starting of your presentation, you ask for tailoring. Tailoring is basically ASPICE level 3, is to some extent GPs 3.1, 3.2, and what I missed in this presentation was the feedback. That's basically GP's 3.2 deployment of processes and the combination of okay, maybe this feedback loop. Okay, good. Okay,
I did not mention it.
okay, thank you.
I agree.
That's clear.
On level 3, you have tailoring guidelines. So
Right.
you have rules exactly. Okay, it's safety relevant. Then I have to have this process. It's not on level 3. Tailoring starts on level 1 by deciding which processes do we include, and justifying, okay, we do not do this process. So it's tailoring on level 1 already. It's not tailoring on level 3, where you have tailoring guidelines which you can take, and then you know exactly, okay, I can skip this process, I can skip this base practice, I can skip this chapter in the document. But it's similar, I agree. Oh, lots of questions. Roshan. I hope I pronounced this correctly.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a few questions with respect to SIS1. I would like to ask. So you mentioned like you have included those examples in the book. I would like to know in some detail, like into SIS1, like what is expected there? Like for example, we receive stakeholders from customer
Mhm.
and we analyze them and we review them along with customer. We keep our evidences of those reviews. Okay, so that makes it complete for this SIS1 activity, or we have to derive our own system requirements and then it completes this SIS1 activity. How wanted to know this thing.
Mm. Actually, as I see, I can hesitate. Of course, the full-blown SIS1 does exactly what you are saying, review, align with the customer, and checking for feasibility, which can include, okay, you derive system requirements so that you know, okay, we can actually fulfill the stakeholder requirement. I have to, and I don't want to tell anything wrong. If we have covered the full workflow as you just describing, I was considering writing another case study. I call them the forgotten processes, where I describe the full SIS1 with templates, with best practices, but I have not managed to write this case study. Here in the it's a very lightweight workflow. I think I have the idea, the feeling that you are already beyond this. But we included this one. That's a very distinct decision, so to say, and we justified, and we gave a small workflow for that.
Okay, okay, understood. Following this, I think there was an already a safety question. So, like for our case, like I am also working in a very small team, which
Okay.
is again safety related, like
Okay.
ASIL-C, and we also need to achieve ASPICE level 2. So how do we handle here in such scenarios the confirmation measures? Because often in such you must have come across in these small teams, many people have multiple responsibilities. Okay, so for example, if the same person has been handling the requirements, is also designing, and it also defines the process for this ASPICE. So is this okay or it is not?
For ASIC, to be clear, for an ASIC project, I would not recommend this approach.
Okay.
One reason is the independence for confirmation reviews, and there are another reasons. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
A recommendation for you. You can buy my other book, which covers all the review methods and the independence, etc. But this book might not be for you.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, thank
you. Jürgen.
Yeah, my question is quite simple. So assuming you have updated or set up a project like this, a small project with the tailoring of best practices, the tailoring of processes.
Yep.
You skipped sub 10, you skipped some best practices, you merged best practices. You did show examples only, but there are more best practices that you can, let's say, simplify. What is the reaction of a assessor from an OEM, or what can we expect? Do they accept it? Do they accept this mergers, this tailoring, or is this maybe an issue that can, let's say, lead to bad evaluation
rating? To be honest with you, this approach is more for projects for tier 2 or tier 3, and they do not get assessed. Maybe in the future somewhere, but not if a full scope assessment is imminent. This might not be for you. It still might be a stepstone, so to say. Okay, you start with
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one for kind of level 1 or level 1 plus, whatever you want to call it, and then you can further extend. So it's an intermediate step. And what you also can do, I did not mention this, you can apply this approach to all of the teams, and then they can start working together. So you could actually do this for the hardware team, and of course for the software team and for the systems team, and then they improve based on this. I don't know if I told you, this is actually what I do in coaching. Where to start? Okay, start with this one. If you have understood it and if you're confident with these base practices and processes, okay, let's go one step further. And there was a question from Alec, why we included...
Just one supplement to this
okay,
question.
sorry. Go.
Is there a chance, theoretically, that you can agree with an OEM assessor or with an OEM to implement ASPICE Light in their projects? If it's a small project, if it's a simple project, is that possible?
Actually, Sohil and I discussed this, if we should approach the VDA. And as you probably know, there are people thinking of an ASPICE Light. It might not be the same approach as we did. Once it is published, then you could agree. I mean, let's turn it around. There's a small team with a very limited time scope, and by doing ASPICE Light, this approach or another approach, the risk for the OEM, for the customer, is reduced a lot.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't they agree to ASPICE Light if the alternative is not doing ASPICE at all? So there might be a chance they agree, but we can ask people from the OEMs. Yes.
My take on that would be is basically an agreement of development interface agreement, status of work, so the interface agreement between two parties. And then it's basically a question of risk assessment.
Exactly.
Depending.
Yes. Okay. So there's a chance it might be a milestone or a small project. So why not? Because you reduce your risk for the customer.
Yeah. Okay.
And
thank you very much.
I think that is the question from Alex already answered. Why we included this one? To me, it's the most important one, and the same is true for product release. How is the product released or delivered to the customer, even though we don't define the packaging before, but you need to do it, you need to deliver, you need to have release notes, you need to have approval. So I've never understood why SYS1 and SPL2 are not included in the VDA scope. I saw you wrote recommended scope. Okay, yes, it's recommended, but from my experience, most of the projects, they just say it's not VDA scope, we don't do this. We don't need this because it's never assessed SYS1 and product release, but it's, to me, they are crucial. And as Laurent mentioned, that's the black box. That's the interface to the customer, SYS1 and SPL2. And Robin, I would check if you got the product, the book already. There is a delay because I have a cron job working a script which checks are there any new deliverables necessary, and then it should deliver the... Okay, I will check right after the webinar.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any further questions before we close?
I'm not sure. Have you answered mine already with the domains things.
Yes. I once did a post on LinkedIn. This was my normal ASPICE book. I'm convinced that the concepts can be transferred to other domains or industries, that it's possible. Of course, this book is specific to the automotive industry, but I think it's possible, yeah. But you need to get rid of the process names. They are known only in the automotive industry.
I
There is no
take the IEEE life cycle then,
okay,
but it's
yeah.
hard. It's hard to get as a small company
Okay.
on all the stuff for all of the life cycle we have discussed here and on LinkedIn about the additional set
Yeah.
of the very small entity life cycle documents on top of the normal ones. So it's not easy, but at least I can orient on
Yes.
the IEEE life cycle.
Yes.
It's
So
not
if
cheap to
you can take this as an inspiration. Okay, what activities needs to be done? They're called base practices in ASPICE, but you don't need to mention base practices, but you can still
of
take
course.
this, which is true for the full ASPICE as well as the ASPICE Light. And another question from Robin: how to convince small teams and management about the necessity? I don't know, Laurent. Actually, Jürgen and I discussed this morning, how to convince the management.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Mhm.
Money only.
Numbers?
Money
Yes.
only.
Yes.
And what if they
it's not
don't
going
measure
in
enough
the
to show them?
Yeah, exactly. Because when you are a tier 2 or tier 3 company, then you don't have any feedback, any advantages of following ASPICE. So
not for a single project. I agree with you. Jürgen and I discussed this morning.
Yes.
If you want to be as a supplier which is taken seriously by your customers, it's a good idea to get to level 2, because it's about confidence and trust. So
Yeah.
this is why we do ASPICE. And if you have an assessment result showing you are at level 1 or level 2, whatever, and can give this to your future customer during the procurement or nomination process, this enhances your likelihood to get nominated a lot.
that's right.
Management, okay.
Yeah,
With
for the numbers. I was just answering about the numbers.
There are not many numbers around. I think I discussed this with someone last week. There are not many numbers around. This is just a very simple equation. Okay. One reason for these numbers, okay, we need factor 10, can be you have a technical debt. If you have never done an architecture or requirements, well, then you have to write requirements. But you cannot blame ASPICE for this. You have chosen not to do requirements or architecture or testing, whatever you want to take. And now ASPICE asks you to do this. Of course, then you have a lot of effort. Yes, and traceability.
Another example, if you have never done quality assurance before and the customer would like to have a quality assured product, then you have to do it. And it's not ASPICE telling you to do it. Yeah,
yes.
that's the customer tells you to do that. And ASPICE is a model to check if it's done correctly. So it's not a real ASPICE requirement, in my opinion, or everything here.
And
it's more a structured project compared to some.
So this comparison with and without ASPICE it's dangerous.
Yes, And yes, we discussed this in the community of practice last Friday extensively, 1 hour. I think we did not finish because it's a very emotional discussion topic, as we can see, you know, lots of discussion going on in the chat already. How to convince the management. This was the introduction question by someone in the community. We have not come to a full answer, and we might never. And of course, the view of the management is, okay, I need to spend more money because I have technical debt. If I do it for the first time, yes, I need more time. Actually, this is why we provided books like this, so it's not as costly as if you have to pay a consultant for months or years, whatever. Okay, and there are standards around like ISO 26262, which demand it from you. There is no safety relevant project which is not at least on level 2 or even on level 3. I don't know who wrote this. Mark, okay.
Automotive driving will do the rest. It's a must. Yeah, it's a must.
There's a question from Laurent in terms of cost. The reason why I hesitated about SysOne, and I tell this my customers every time, it's not stakeholder requirements. You do not get requirements. You need to analyze the expectations. You need to break it down. And this is, I think, what Laurent is mentioning. The stakeholder expectations can be very vague, and then you have to spend a lot of time to find out, analyze what the stakeholder customer actually wants, and this takes time. Yes, it's partly the responsibility of the customer as well. So if you like this discussion, I would like to invite you to the community of practice. Happening every Friday. Just drop me a line. I can invite you to this Friday or next Friday whenever you have time, and we can continue this discussion. How to convince the management. Maybe I should write a case study about this. Okay.
Can be very helpful one.
a very thick one as well. 500 pages. Okay. Thank you very much for contributing. We couldn't. Sorry, I cannot answer all the questions. Maybe I collect them. As I said, we can follow up in the community of practice. You are welcome to join as a guest. And I might collect them and write a LinkedIn post about this, about your ideas, and they are not lost, definitely. Thank you very much for joining, for the questions, for the discussion. I really like this, and hope to see you in one of the next webinars. The next webinar is actually tomorrow. I give an overview to all the books, which one is the best fit for you, cybersecurity, assessment preparation, ASPICE Light now, and the full-blown ASPICE with, I think, 500 pages of best practices. And I think next week, Olena and I, we are discussing about another hot topic, which is the use of third-party software. We will discuss what we mean by this, what the definition is. Definitely, we will dive into the topic of FOSS, free and open source software, how to deal with this, what are the responsibilities and risks. Happening on the 12th of February. It's already online on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Ron,
thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and
thank you.
See you next time.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Ron.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.